Gregory Shaffer's out front now. He traveled the world with Kirk to secure his safety, also a former FBI supervisory special agent. And Gregory, I am sorry. I know that you worked together for many years, so I'm sorry for your loss this week as you're coming to terms with it. When you are learning all the things we're learning today about the suspected person who assassinated Charlie Kirk, the profile that we're learning, I mean, it was an honor roll student. Is this a profile of anybody that you would have ever typically looked for as a threat?
Absolutely not. I mean, the FBI profiling unit's going to have quite the job to get into the mind of this young man and this individual to see what caused him, what motivated him to do such a heinous act. I mean, as you pointed out, he came from a well-to-do middle-class family. Parents been married for decades. He made good grades. He's clean cut. Doesn't use drugs or alcohol that we know of. He certainly would not have been somebody that would have bubbled up on our radar as a threat.
And stunning, obviously, you say that with all the experiences I just mentioned of what you went through, right? Dozens of events, hundreds of threats that you dealt with. And Kirk himself spoke about some of those death threats that he'd received. Gregory, here's one of the things he'd said.
We get death threats all the time. They come, they send stuff to our homes and all that. And yeah, that's just par for the course. I mean, if you are not getting active death threats, you're not really doing much for the country.
Again, you worked together for 7 years. How seriously did Kirk take all those threats? I mean, things like bulletproof vests, was he, were you advising him to wear things like that while you were overseeing security?
I met him in 2015. I think he was 21 years old at the time. And, Turning Point USA was just starting to grow tremendously. So the more popular he became, of course, the more threats he received. And, he really didn't take them very seriously because most of them were sent via email or most of them were on social media platforms. And they weren't definitive to say, I'm going to kill you. It was just more things like, I hate you. I hate what you stand for. I hope you die. Those are typical kind of threats. Now, if a threat did come over the threshold that we thought was credible, we certainly made contacted the local police of where the threat was made and filed a report. So that if those threats continue to come, we would have documentation that this individual has made, more than just one documented threat. So he took them as serious as he needed to, but for the most part, most of the threats were just idle and not really credible.
And at least from the reporting right now, we don't have any evidence that the person who actually assassinated him had ever made any threats, right? So just to make that point, and obviously, I don't know what we don't know at this point, but that's how we understand it. He often spoke, I mean, that was his whole brand, was to be accessible, right, Gregory, that you can come and ask questions, and it was this debate. And he would speak in wide open, uncontrolled spaces, even the other day, right? You didn't have to go through and go through some sort of airport security to get in there. And his wife, Erica, talked about some of her concerns about wanting to protect him. She actually talked about this only 5 days ago. I'll just play what she just said.
My husband is on college campuses getting screamed at by college kids as he's trying to share with them the truth. And he is so calm. Would I be calm? No, I wouldn't. I barely go to those only because I don't trust myself not climbing over the table and attacking someone in the crowd because I'm very protective of my husband.
So when he went into those open spaces, and obviously he relished that, you could see that in how relaxed and laid back he was in those images before that horrific instant. That's how he felt at home. Did he ever have a conversation with you about those open spaces, about something horrible like this even being a possibility? Or was this really beyond his imagination?
Well, I think it was beyond everybody's imagination. I mean, when you conduct security operations, you look at what the threat is. What's the most credible threat? What's the risks involved? And when you go to a college campus where the average age is 18 to 22 years old, it's not a threatening environment. Yes, they yelled, things at him. They verbally disagreed with him. But he's been doing this for years. And the number of times he was physically assaulted is so minimal, and the physical assaults were pretty lame. Water being thrown at him or stuff like that. And that's what the security team that was in place on that fateful day, they were looking at what is the threat, and the threat is going to be close in by the stage. It's going to be somebody throwing a water bottle at him, or pig's blood, or God forbid, drawing a handgun or a knife, jumping the bike rack, and charging the stage. That's why the security was placed, in the inner perimeter. Watching closely, with the people right there. Not in a million years would you ever consider, a sniper 200 yards away as part of a threat that you would have to mitigate in an environment like that. It's just, that's not part of the operation plan, and that's not part of the probability that you're trying to address in mitigating those threats and those risks.
Gregory, thank you very much. I appreciate your being willing to talk about it.
Thank you.